Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome
howdy.
to day 2 of the Add 15 miles per hour to your surf 5-day surf challenge. We probably could have come up with a shorter name for that in hindsight, but
it's a good name.
You know,
it's a good name.
Comment, those of you who were here yesterday hanging out with us, comment your favorite takeaway from day 1. If you're just tuning in to day 2, tell us where you're from. Just comment, say something silly in the comment section. Tell us what you like the most about Nate Dogg. Like the least,
or don't. That's fine too. You know, yeah, whatever you prefer.
Say something to us so we know you guys are alive and breathing out there.
We don't get a lot of trolling anymore. So, you know,
where are all the mean comments?
You know, when we first started this thing, it was like all the trolls were out. Now just people say nice things and it makes us feel good. But every now and then, you know, nice to mess with the troll.
I got called a lot of names.
Baltimore, there we go, just down the road. Well, 4 hours down the road.
Oh, toss from Gigi in Denver, Colorado. Very nice. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. Hi from Arizona Mountains to you, Jen. Slayton said the grip change is a great adjustment. Excellent. Love to hear it. Keep them coming, guys. Sharon Rhodes said, watch the video. We love it. Glad that you're here with us today, too. All right, these are flowing in. You guys are paying attention. We got Brandon from Indian Wells, California.
Hey, Beth, how are you?
Beth Arnold, what's going on?
My favorite JMU professor.
That's right. There you go. Paul's back for day 2. Love it. I like Andre Agassi's haircut in the photo behind you.
Oh, all time,
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that is a classic. What's better, the McEnroe board?
Can you see that?
Or the Andre?
Yeah, can't see it. Zoom in.
That's it. Oh, no, Andre is tough to beat, dude. They're like the chest hairs growing into his beard. That is a look.
It's pretty strong.
It's strong. It's strong.
All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Mario, Fiorabita.
Love that.
Favorite places in the world.
All right, while you guys are still streaming in here, and we appreciate you interacting with us. If you don't talk to us, it kind of makes the live component of this pretty boring. What I'm going to do for you here, as people are trickling in, I'm going to do a quick recap of day 1. That cool with you, Nate Dogg?
It's good.
And I'm going to do it by sharing.
Jeff says, will a beard help my tennis game?
Yes,
100%.
Clearly.
100%.
Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, technology, Nate.
We've got the 5 Ps today, buddy.
5 Ps. I'm prepared. All right. So let me just jump over here and make sure. You guys should be able to see this pretty clearly. If you can't, let me know in the comments. But we'll go through a quick recap of day 1 using our handy-dandy workbook here. So we started talking about the Continental grip, and, you know, we anticipated that a lot of you were going to be bored by that instruction. But then hopefully we blew your mind when you learned that not only the index knuckle, but also the heel pad of your hand needed to be on bevel 2, as shown here. And then we gave you a quick drill downs with the edge of your racket as kind of the litmus test to whether or not you are doing this correctly. So that was the first drill that we talked about. We then moved on to the serve stance, and we talked about a couple of things here, and I'm going to zoom in so you can really see this. We talked about first how your back foot toe and your front foot heel should really line up with each other. And that when you draw a straight line from your toes, it should point very closely to the outside net post. Talked about how this works this way on the do side, and it would point to the same net post, same stance if you're on the add side as a righty. Exact same thing, mirrored version as a lefty. If you're on the do side, we'd have you pointing out to the left's net post there, and then exact same thing on the add side. Not really a drill here, right? This is just something we want you to go out there and do and implement and be aware of. So that was sort of the second thing that we talked about. Third of 4, we talked about how important it is to really, really get that tossing arm up in the air. And we went over a drill called the penalty box drill. And again, this drill was not a toss location drill. This was a drill to get you really comfortable with leaving that tossing arm up in the air like you just don't care. The drill was getting your feet stationary. If you have a box or a little yellow, French fries in front of clay court, you can draw it. But the idea is just your feet don't move and your arm ascends all the way up, getting you into that rear pelvic tilt and getting that tossing arm up.
Just to clarify for everybody, the importance there, not just keeping the tossing arm because it keeps the head up, but the tilt, right? For a lot of you, some of you messaged me yesterday. For y'all that don't know, inside of our platform, we do have a tier membership where people can send video, people communicating there how much the tossing arm helps the tilt. So if you're not using these exercises yet, please do, because it's really cool getting that feedback when people are like, hey, I did this and I noticed this big improvement. That's why the drills are there. So it's like this practical application. You can go and try it and see that the proof is indeed in the pudding.
Love it. And then lastly, drill 4 was a toss location. So we talked about a lot of things here. We talked about how to really remove all of the bends in your arm, the bend in your elbow, the bend in your wrist, the bend in your fingertips. And we talked about holding the ball with your fingertips in either a tulip or ice cream cone position, releasing that ball at eye level and trying to get that ball out in front at 1 o'clock, about 6 to 8 inches out in front of you. And we gave you a handy dandy drill here where you're going to put your racket to where that ball should land and really practice that toss. So that was a good summary of day 1. If you want to relive day 1 because you missed it, you'll appreciate this. For those of you that were here yesterday, I got a new link created for you guys. That is just PlayYourCourt.com/recordings, not the 18 other things that were there. So if you can't make one of these sessions, if you want that workbook I was just showing you on the screen, so you can print it out, put it in your bag. Honestly, I know I pitch this every time we do this. This really is the insurance that the stuff that we teach you sticks. You're going to want to watch this again. You might have to get up, use the restroom, answer the door, dog barks, whatever. You're going to miss something here. Maybe you just can't make all 5 sessions at 5 p.m. Eastern time. We get it. That's why we have the recordings. They're $49. It comes with the workbook. And if you don't buy them now and you decide you want to after the challenge is over, it's going to cost you $199 instead of $49. So if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it. PlayYourCourt.com/recordings. Go there and buy that. We need that money to get more beard cream for Nate. So would mean a lot to us.
This guy.
I suppose there's enough humans interacting with us now.
Yeah, what's up,
that
Marianne?
we can say
Ed,
what's up to
Stan, what's happening?
To Jeff, to Stan, to Ed, to CBW, to Mary Ann. Let's get this party started. Day 2, serve challenge. Nate Dogg, what up?
So the next segment, the first piece that we're going to talk about on day 2 is the right to left movement. This is often referred to as saluting. I really like that terminology. I think that's the kind of the right way to think about it. Just simply bringing that hand to your forehead.
With your racket in it.
Yep. But we're going to start, like, at first, just be comfortable. I mean, it's okay at home right now. Like, you're starting this way and just bringing the racket to your head. That's going to be kind of phase 1. All right? We often hear about knocking the birthday hat off the head. That's a great tip as well. This is really about getting the joint position to prevent you from getting into waiter's tray, getting your wrist in the wrong position, and really getting an optimal racket drop. So shall we jump into the video? Anything you want to share from the
Yeah, let's get to it. You want me to get your PYC tech on? You let me know when you're ready.
Good to go.
To the stage, PYC tech.
All right, so here, set up like you're getting ready to serve. And what you'll see is that I'm going to separate the hitting arm from the rest of the motion. I know a lot of you have been taught down together, up together throughout the serve challenge. We're going to reiterate this. You've got to separate the racket and ball coming together. All right. The reason is it's an old groove filled likely with a lot of bad muscle memory. By separating the two, you create a new groove. And so what I want you to really focus on is starting this training just like I have here. You want to make sure the racket is listed out to the right of your body. And you want to make sure that your palm is down. Really focus on keeping the palm down. And you'll notice here, I'm shaking out the hand. Let me go back just a little bit. See right there where I'm shaking out the hand, just really driving home how loose you need to be. And now the first phase of this is simply bringing the racket over your head using your wrist and forearm.
You want me to show them you, or you want them looking at the video? They can barely see you in the little corner there.
Yeah, it's so fun. We'll stay on the video. They can hear me. So that is phase 1 of this, is just the racket arm. All right. And you at home, we'll give you a second. Well, I'll run this one more time.
Yeah,
practice this.
Friendly reminder, you pick up a racket and do this stuff, especially if you're at your house. I mean, go run to the car, grab your racket, wherever you're keeping your racket, get a racket, get a ball, start to practice some of this stuff.
We can't see you. No one's going to embarrass themselves, right?
Or can we?
Yeah. Right. And there is no being embarrassed, right? We're practicing. This is how we get better. All right. So step 2 of this. So here is just the racket and the arm. And from here, we're going to go into the next step. So again, shaking the arm out. And you can see here, just pulling the racket right to left Let me slow it down for just a minute. And now we're going to start incorporating the tossing arm. And what you'll see here is that the tossing arm is going to lead the racket just slightly. So the tossing arm leads, and then the hitting arm goes into the salute. Now, what's important to note here is watch my hips as well. My hips and shoulders are going to rotate as I do the salute. And what that does is it gets my hitting arm on the non-dominant side of my body. This part is so important, guys. So when you're saluting, when you're doing the right to left, make sure that your hip opens so that the racket is on, the racket and the arm, as you can see in the screen. If we'll go back to the stage, as we're affectionately calling it, that red line, we want to make sure the racket is on the other side of the body. And sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I've got, finish up your thoughts. I've got a really fun story to tell everyone when you're done.
Okay. So the last piece of this is actually getting the toss implemented. Now, you are not hitting a ball here. You're just now getting familiar with the cadence. Take the legs out of it. This is 100% just the tossing arm. Tossing arm goes up, racket to the side, the dominant side of my body, and then the racket comes to the right to left, as you can see there.
Very cool.
All right, what was your story?
All right, so without fail, whenever we run a live serve workshop, whether it's here in our hometown or in Indian Wells, wherever we go, and we go through this information, a lot of folks, it feels like they just needed permission for us to tell them they don't have to drop that racket down and come back up again. Like, it is not only okay, some of the best players in the world do it. They bring their racket straight to an abbreviated right to left position. So for a lot of you that have a long pendulum motion where you start with your racket up, I'm back up so you can see me. Start with your racket up, and then you're dropping it back down, and then you're coming back up. That's probably just extra stuff that's creating problems for you that you don't need. It's absolutely okay. Right now, it's absolutely okay to just start with your arm like this, toss the ball up, go into that rear pelvic tilt, and get that right to left motion synced up. Like, you can serve over 100 miles an hour doing that, and no one is going to make fun of you if you're serving over 100 miles an hour, I promise. I think a lot of people are like, it looks silly to start with my racket right here. It doesn't look that much different than what Andy Roddick did. All he did was pull it right to there. So don't think through, one, who cares what other people think? Like, go hit aces and then ask them how they feel about your service motion. But two, this is actually correct all of a sudden. There's been a big push, especially with younger guys, to really abbreviate this motion. And we've learned that dropping the racket down and, up together, down together, we've learned that isn't the best way to serve. So
yeah, I mean, if you look on tour, the motion is getting smaller, right? You look at Ben Shelton, you look at Sebastian Corda, you look at Carlos Alcaraz, and then on the women's side, Caroline Garcia. I mean, Caroline started here at one point, and now she's just a little bit more off to the side. Sarah Ronnie, I mean, has made a career, and she literally starts with the racket down her back.
Yep.
All this is just stages of development, and these are professional players that's where they found comfort because something was getting in the way in the path of development. So don't be afraid, right?
Yeah, 100%. If all you needed was permission from somebody who knows what they're talking about, Nate knows what he's talking about, and I'm also here. So that's your permission.
Jen, you're on the money. I see your comment there. That's it. I love it. She's got it lined up, all the notes. That's perfect. Way to go.
All right. We move on to exercise 2, a little elbow to the ball action, shall we?
Yeah. So
where do you want me?
Let's go to the stage here. We'll show them the video.
To the stage?
Please.
PYC technology.
So everyone, when they think about the racket drop, they think about where the racket is. And on the serve, the last thing that you ever want to do is put something anywhere, right? Like, I don't want to put the racket somewhere. I want it to be the byproduct of a joint position where my elbow is creating the racket drop.
Let's get them interacting here. How many of you have been given the, albeit very bad instruction of tap your ponytail or place your racket on your back? Just in the comment section, type yes if you've heard that instruction.
The problem with that too, it's like, it's okay, cool. Like, that's maybe in the beginning phase of where you want the racket, but you never want your racket touching your back. You want space. But what we want to do in this next exercise is think about where the elbow is moving. And so here's the drill. The workbook we'll explain this to you, to where you're simply tossing the ball very low, just out in front, and you're going to aim for it with your elbow. And what this does is, by aiming your elbow up to the ball, we'll watch it play one more time, you'll see that it has an organic racket drop. So right there, elbows up to the ball. We can see that pretty clear, that I'm aiming my elbow up at the ball. And then the byproduct is that the racket drop. It's the old thing with a lever. Two ends of a lever can't be in the same space. If the elbow is up, the racket has to be down. And this is so much easier to think about when you're trying to get into a racket drop, as opposed to just sticking the racket down your back.
If you guys remember yesterday, I said today was by far the most important day of the serve challenge. And the reason is this combination of right to left with getting that elbow up and creating the racket drop are the two things that directly lead to power. If you don't have that deep racket drop, and you can't get that deep racket drop if you go into waiter's tray and open the palm of your racket up. So you've got to have the right to left, and then you've got to understand what to be thinking about to create that racket dropping. And we've just seen so much instruction out there on thinking about placing the racket. This does the opposite. This is going to activate that racket dropping behind your back by thinking about leading up to the ball with your elbow. So
let's show it one more time. Let's go back to the stage. I'm going to show it one more time, just to make sure everybody has this visual. The main thing I want you to focus on is how low on tossing the ball. Your elbow is only going to reach so high. This is just a tool, a drill that's giving you a place to target your elbow. All right.
And we don't expect you to be perfect athletes and hit the ball with the tip of your elbow. The idea is just that you understand you're trying to go after the ball with your elbow and get in the right racket drop position here. So give yourself a little grace. If you're not making contact with the ball with your elbow, that's okay, as long as you're moving that elbow up and the racket down with it.
So we're getting asked, what is the driving mechanism of the elbow? Well, that's going to go into the next drill. But what I'm going to show you here is just a little preview. Watch my back foot here. What is driving the elbow up to the ball? Whoops. Notice how my heel is up off the ground. So the back leg drives the back hip, and the back hip, now I can't talk today, back hip is going to drive the elbow. This part is important. I do believe that brings us
to the pull sub drill. You kind of just taught it though, so I don't know what you're going to talk about now.
We got so much more to share. All right. So here we're eliminating the ball again. We're not using a ball at all. This is solely just the racket. And what we're going to work on now is the racket flipping out to contact.
I'm going to interrupt you really quickly because we're on like a 45 to 1 minute delay, 45 second to 1 minute delay. If you have questions with anything from day one or anything we've talked about so far from day two, start letting them rip. I don't see as many questions in here as I normally do. So don't be shy. Start asking them. We are almost to the end of day two content where we'll start fielding some questions. We're going to have plenty of time to answer anything you got. Yep. So start firing questions in the comment section now. Anything that you have, even if it's not related to day one or day two, feel free. We got time. Carry on. Sorry.
All right. So this is in the workbook. We refer to this as the pulse up drill. You can think about this as, imagine if you're doing a tricep extension, but you had really heavy weight, right? You would have to use your legs to drive that weight up. So here you can see I'm setting up racket to the side of my body. Everything stays in motion, but now the racket is flipping out the contact. The important piece here, you can see I'm pointing down to my back foot, and I'm telling you that is the driving mechanism. Push off that back leg. Yes, I'm pushing off both feet, right? But the back leg is responsible for about 60%, where you'll find the front foot is responsible for about 40% of that loading through the ground, because the back foot has to drive the hip. The hip is going to drive the elbow, and that is what's going to create the flip. All right. And the flip,
connected to.
Yeah. I got to set that up there. And the flip from the racket drop, you'll see right there, as the elbow leads up, the racket is going to flip up. And just focus on getting your arm straight, right? You don't want it next to your ear, right? We just want it off to the side to make sure we're keeping that shoulder nice and safe.
So Nate's a very good technical coach, and then I come in as the third grader to sort of bring this back down to earth for us normal humans. So allow me, for those of you who don't process at Nate's level, imagine your racket weighs 500 pounds and you can't get it to move, 500 might be too much. Imagine it weighs 60 pounds and you can't do a 60-pound one-arm tricep pull. You're going to need to get your legs involved to get that racket moving. That's the feel, right? So just imagine your racket's really heavy and there's no way for you to get it activated without pushing off the ground from your back foot.
So let's check this all out in action. Let's go back to the stage. This is Felix Auger-Aliassime. Really good service motion.
Really good pronunciation of his name.
I know that.
Everyone else calls him FAA because they can't do that.
Yeah, I've said it a few times. So right here, he goes down. But what you'll notice down with the racket, and what you'll notice here, wow, this is super slow. Tossing arm leads. Now, the one thing I'll point out with the tossing arm, don't do this. He's a pro. He's going to get away with it. But see how bent? It's a great circle, Nate. But see how bent the elbow is? That's not ideal. We really want to keep that arm straight. But from this point, there's the racket on the dominant side of the body. What you'll notice is that the strings are facing down. The wrist is passive. So all things that we've covered, right? Now the racket is going to move right to left. There's the right to left. And here's what we were talking about with the hips and shoulders being properly coiled. When they are, what you'll notice is that you can tell he's sponsored by Adidas. You can see his chest and hip is open because we can read those logos. Yes, sir. You got it. All right. Racket on the non-dominant side. That's a biggie. And now from here, how do we know he's loading energy through the ground? We'll check out the feet, right? Because the feet, the heels are off the ground, we know that he is loading energy. All right, so now let's see. Does the elbow lead to the ball? Yes, it does. All right, so imagine he's just doing that drill. His elbow's going up to that ball, and then the racket flips.
It's got a big old kick at the end of his serve too, man. Just can't kick himself in the back of the head.
So let's see it from a side view here. I won't draw as much, so it'll be fluid, and we'll get this.
Oh, this guy's pretty good. I've heard
Roger's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, he's okay. So his motion is a little bit different. Instead of going off to the side, he takes the racket behind him, and you'll see the racket comes to his head. This is the saluting phase. The racket is still moving from right to left. As a righty, if you're lefty is just going to go left to right, and then from here you can really see that elbow leading to the ball. Let's go back just a little bit. Right here. So loading off that back foot, elbow fires up to ball, and then the racket flip out to contact. That's it, baby.
Very nice.
Yes, sir.
All right. That is I think a pretty completed version of day 2 here. Should we open up the floor for some questions? I see a lot of them.
Yeah, get it.
All right, let's turn off the stage here.
In here. You're always with us, man. Thank you,
B-Man. We'll get
to you in just a second. What's up?
All righty here. Let's start off with Mary Ann. So she said, you talked about lining up your stance with the right net post, but what about in doubles? So this is a good question. And I'm actually going to share the workbook here to give you a visual. Hold on just 1 second while I navigate all of the technology. Share screen. So what Marianne's talking about here, I want to make sure you can see. Yes. Okay. So up here, we're talking about this line created. If you were standing more towards the middle, then yes, this red line would point a little bit outside of the net post. We really are talking about more singles here. So this is kind of the stance. Imagine that whether you move over to the ad side or whether you move out wide on the deuce for doubles or out wide on the ad side for doubles, imagine that we're picking Nate up by the head here as a statue and just placing him wherever on the baseline, completely in the same position he's in right now, kind of no matter what. So you think about that. If you move him over to the ad side, because as he's moving left, his feet are still pointing right, that's still going to line up pretty close to the net post. If you pulled him all the way out, to the doubles alley, which is allowed, he's going to be pointing, towards the side fence almost instead of that net post.
Yeah,
so
the net post would essentially move with me, right? If I moved, yeah.
Right. So just think about this. Like if I just took Nate in this position and moved him this direction, that line would start to point further and further right. Same thing if I moved him in this direction, further and further to the left. But as I move him here, it's still going to be lined up with the net post if he's serving for singles. So
Yeah.
hopefully that helps.
We scroll down on that.
You ask nicely.
Please. The bottom photo is the one you really want to pay attention to.
That's the winner. True.
Right. The back toe to the front heel. And yes, this is not, we don't deal in absolutes with this. This is the guideline. If you like your back foot further back, that's fine. If you want to turn your toe out a little bit, especially on the back foot when you're hitting a kicker, all good. We get this all the time. We're like, well, I'm on the ad court, I'm going to make an adjustment. That's fine, right? These are guidelines that we want you to work from.
100%. Hopefully that helps, Marianne. Brandon, I can't wait to answer this. This is your favorite instruction from me. So, Brandon, you are going to grip your racket like you would grip a baby bird. You don't want to kill the baby bird by squeezing it too tight, but you don't want him to fly away either. So I know that sounds ridiculous, but that is actually the guidance here. So grip pressure is light. You're going to have to squeeze a contact or the racket is going to fly out of your hand.
Only thing I'll add to that is when I was a senior in high school, I had a pretty bad arm accident to where I lost 65, 70% of my grip strength in my playing arm. A year later, it really didn't affect my tennis a lot because I really only needed about 35% of my grip pressure. Now, where it does affect me is if somebody drills, I'm at the net, somebody drills a ball at me, I don't have the same strength. But I always tell that story because like it affected my tennis game, but not because of the grip pressure, right? Like you don't need a lot of grip pressure. Relax.
Yep. Honestly, the more grip pressure you give, the more likely you are to have tennis elbow too. And we're not doctors.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I can tell you that you can hurt yourself by squeezing too tight.
But we play one on TV.
That's true. Doctor. Is that your doctor look?
Doctor.
All right, golf and tap. Should we talk about how obsessed I am with golf right now? I like
no one cares about golf.
Golf.
So, no offense, golf and tap.
Yeah, As we address our very clear golfer here. My toss is all over the place. How do I get consistency? I'm going to do a quick just redo of day one here on the toss because I think this is so important that it's worth hearing more than once. So we talked yesterday. I'm right-handed. My left arm is my tossing arm. I'm going to sort of take over the space here for a minute, Nate. We got to get rid of all the bend. So we don't want this to happen. We don't want this to happen. And we don't want this to happen. So get rid of the joints by straightening your arm, locking out your wrist, not flexing it, but just straightening it out and holding the ball in the fingertips of your hand. We gave you two options. We said tulip or we said ice cream cone. You can rewatch yesterday's video if you want a deeper analysis of that. Then we talked about if we keep our arm moving in a straight direction. So if I'm having toss issues or my students having toss issues, I'm going to have them lock their arm out again, not flex, just straight at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock meaning if I was pointing right at you, you're at the net, that would be noon. I'm going to, instead of going straight out in front of me towards the center strap, I'm going to go off to the side as I'm going out towards the outside net post. 1 o'clock. I'm going to start with that ball at eye level. And then I'm going to think about dropping my arm down in a straight line where it's going to come all the way down to my left thigh and come right back up exactly where I started. I don't want any of the windmill motion in either direction. This is going to cause problems. I want that straight line. And then I want to just open my hand so I'm not imparting any spin on the ball. If I let go of the ball at eye level after having moved my arm straight down from 1 o'clock back straight up through 1 o'clock, and I just open my hand, the ball has to travel straight up. That's just science, right? So it seems like there's a lot that could go wrong here. Most of it is eliminated by not bending the arm, not bending the wrist, and not holding the ball in the palm of your hand, because that's when you're creating roll off your fingertips. If you're still having issues, it's probably because you're letting go of the ball too early or too late. If you let go past your eye level, it's going to go too far behind you. If you let go closer to your chin, it's going to be too far out in front. The magic is right at eye level. And again, opening those fingers to make sure the ball travels straight up. I have not met a student where that doesn't work. So that is the answer to your question definitively. And I hope that helps. You can't possibly have anything to add to that. That was textbook.
So start with your head up. If a lot of players will look at the ball, this creates a hitch. Just start with their head up. Look where you want the ball to go.
I'm trying to remember at 5:19 what we would have been talking about for the pinpoint serve as well. He's talking about the back foot activation on the pulse up drill. If you've got a pinpoint.
Yeah, same, absolutely the same. right? Like we still want to be firing off that back foot. It's just going to be a different rhythm to it as the back foot pulls up. The back foot is going to pull up as you're entering the power position or the trophy stance, whatever you prefer.
Guys, keep firing in questions.
Yeah,
We've got some more in here, but this is why we go live. This is the fun part.
What does Paul have to say? What's he saying?
Paul says, if you want to serve into the corner of the box or you want to serve one down the middle, what would you adjust? Would you change your stance? I'm going to say, no, you would not change your stance. Do you want to tell them what he should do, or I can keep going? I can keep going. Wherever your strings point is where the ball is going to go. Okay, really as simple as that. The stance is never going to change because remember, we want that stance to set you up to get that rotation from your upper body, and if we get that arm up in the air, to get it from two places, right? The tilt, the rear pelvic tilt, as well as the upper rotation. When you add those two together, that's when we really start smacking the ball pretty hard. Those are the two things we want. You're not going to get either of those things without the stance. So the stance never changes. What does change is the angle in which your racket approaches the ball. We're always going to lead with the edge. And then if we're going to go more out wide, say on the ad side as a right-handed player, you're just going to see that wrist snap a little bit more and my strings point more towards that target. But at the end of the day, no matter what you do, no matter what your stance is, no matter whether your technique is correct or not, wherever the strings point at impact, that's where the ball's going.
Yeah, you largely are going to dictate where the ball goes through the strings, just as Scott says. You can play with it, the stance just a little bit. For you guys that are pinpoint out there, you may come in a little bit more narrow when you're serving tee. A lot of times where you actually line up is going to help hit those targets as well. It's not necessarily the stance per se, but like if I'm in singles and I'm going tee, I'm going to slide over maybe 6 inches. And the truth is, if you come up to the line and you move, people are going to see it. But if you go get a ball and you're already in your mind, you should be thinking about what you want to do, and you come up to the line, nobody's going to notice that you've slid over 6 inches. I promise. I've been playing a long time, and nobody's like, dude, you were totally giving that away. They just don't pick it up.
Truth. Oh, man, you can just go grab some coffee because this is going to take me a second. So I don't often pitch on live streams. So when somebody tees me up to see you, Nate. Samuel, thank you so much for asking. So no, all jokes aside, I actually do want to talk about this because this is what I, as the CEO of this company, am working on all day, every day right now. So a lot of you guys probably know about our community membership. It's really been positioned through some of our funny advertisements as a way to find evenly matched practice partners. And it is that. But what we realized is we kind of made everybody think this thing is a find a partner widget. The whole point of that platform in the community is actually to give you instruction like this. And we're really starting to work on a new and improved version of our membership that's going to straight up just bring you from where you are to the next level. So be on the lookout for that. It's $8 a month. It's purposely priced to get everybody that can't afford private lessons in there learning the game. So jump in there, check it out, PlayYourCourt.com. As far as a contact phone number, email is going to be a lot faster. So support@PlayYourCourt.com if you have any questions. What I would honestly say is if you have any questions, just join the thing. So it's got a 30-day money-back guarantee. Or if you get in there and you don't like it, we just refund your money. So jump in there, try it out. The thing's awesome. I'm definitely not biased at all. Samuel, thanks for asking. All right. Some questions on the Federer video from my man, Eric. It doesn't look like Federer rotates his hips much. Should your hips be parallel to the baseline or 45 degrees of contact? I think Federer does rotate his hips quite a bit, doesn't he?
It's that angle.
That was just bad camera footage.
Well, it's a side footage, right?
Yep.
The side footage of it was really good for seeing the elbow from a different perspective. But Federer, I mean, has his foot further back on a platform than just about anybody has. So he automatically gets this big coil on his serve. But Federer's not really, I mean, everything he does through the hands, the guy's perfect. But what he does with taking the racket back, that's not something we really teach. It was his own. It's really difficult to duplicate. But yeah, dude's definitely coiling.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, honestly, like on Federer's forehand too. It's like probably my favorite player of all time outside of the infamous Juan Martín del Potro that's on the wall back here. But honestly, everything he does is like superhuman and hard to copy. So be a fan of Federer. Don't really ever copy his technique unless you're talking about a one-handed slice backhand or topspin backhand. But his serve and forehand are both, they are high, superhuman type.
To answer Eric's last question, he was asking at contact, where should your hips be? you don't want to be flush with the baseline, right? And you're not quite 45 degrees. Will you go to the stage real quick?
Here?
Yeah.
With Curious?
Yeah. So if you take a look at Curious here, he's not quite at a 45, but he's definitely not square with his shoulders and his hips towards the court. You're just slightly off. I'd aim to be closer at 45. As you watch this wind up, it's really telling. You can see there 45 and then through contact. He doesn't really get square until here, and that's almost at the landing. I think that's a really good question, Eric. So I just wanted to elaborate on that.
It's a really good visual too. If you think about where we rewind, I'm developing a stutter hanging out with you. Will you rewind all the way back to where his right hip is pointing back? So if you look at like where his right hip starts, and that camera angle is a little deceiving. It's really pretty far back. So I mean, you're going to get a full rotation of that right hip. That's why I like you to start with that stance, because pulling that right hip back and then ending here, shocker, you're going to get some power on that thing.
For sure.
All right. Let's move right along here. Amy asks, when you push off with your legs, does a righty push with the right leg and hip and shift weight to the left leg, or drive both legs at the same time?
It's a really good question. It's going to depend a little bit whether you're pinpoint or platform at the timing of them. But let's just say you're on a platform. Yeah, if you're assuming your platform, the right is going to push, but it is like milliseconds before the left is going to engage, right? Like you really want to be getting off both feet at the same time. People will say that, they're at the exact same time. It's not. Your right is going to lead just a fraction of a second before the left will engage. But that's a really good question. But you should be off both feet, right? We never want you. I think what happens when people shift weight to the left, either one, they're tossing too far out into the court, or if they're doing it intentional, they rob themselves of all the power and they end up collapsing. Their head comes down really fast. So ask yourself, like if you're hitting a lot of serves in the net, it may be a byproduct of getting to your left foot way too fast.
It's true. It's true. Amy, hopefully that helps. Why did my brightness just go down? That's a problem with live. There we go. All right. Dirk would like to know, how close is the pinky on the grip to the butt cap? This is a little bit personal preference, but what we don't want you to do is choking way up on the racket, because then the racket becomes wobbly. So you need to be at the end of your stick here with your pinky. Like some of us prefer to hang it off a little bit, but there needs to be contact with the pinky in the bottom of the racket. Would you agree with that? Like you're not going to do this. That pinky has got to be on there and really as far down as is comfortable as how I would coach
you want it almost hanging off, but it can't be off the racket. I know we've done videos with the 3-finger technique and stuff.
That's content in this challenge. God, teaser.
But it's a training tool.
Spoiler alert.
What else you got for me?
Susan would like to know how far to open chest at contact.
Susan, that's gonna run just with Eric's question with the hips. Your chest is gonna be where your hips are.
That's the shortest answer Nate's ever given to a question his entire career, Susan. I'm sorry you got shortchanged there.
Scott. I know I'm long-winded. It's cool.
That's true. Let's see here. Mary Ann says, what about a kick serve? Does the direction of the toss change, i.e. further behind your head? Yes. Kick is not going to inherently give you more power, so we don't talk about that a ton in this 5-day challenge, but I'll give you a little teaser. You're going to want to toss that ball as a righty kind of into your back right pocket. So it's back over your head so you can get that brush from behind the ball motion. We have tons of videos on YouTube about the kick serve, so just go to Play Your Court on YouTube, follow us, like us, and then check out our kick serve videos.
Like one of us.
Yeah. If the serve is a little longer than the serve box, what should I set as first change? I'll cover this. So he's saying if he's missing his serve long, what would you adjust? Every time we're live with folks here for an in-person workshop, what I'll show them is that the difference between the bottom of the net and over the back fence is like this. It's very, very small adjustments. So if you're missing a couple inches deep, the honest answer, the only adjustment really you should be making is just a slight close in your racket face at contact. You're not doing anything terribly wrong. Like if you're within 6 inches of the box and everything feels good. The only adjustment is just ever so slight adjustments to that racket face of contact.
The other thing we'll see, and this may apply, is if you're serving across your body, so as you're serving at contact, you're coming straight across. That has a tendency to be the strings will be open and it'll be too plush. It's going to sell the ball. Make sure you're serving away from your body, right? So from here, as the racket comes through, I should be out here, boom, and then across. And you should also stay tuned for the serve challenge because we're going to talk about internal shoulder rotation, and that's going to be really big for keeping the ball.
Way to sell it. Sell the retention. I love it.
Yeah.
Joseph purchased both the courses and the recording.
Nice.
So the way this, yeah, thank you, Joseph. We appreciate that sincerely. The way this works, so when we finished recording yesterday, I believe before we start today, Justin from our tech team will get those videos uploaded. So you'll see a video inside of your account that says Serve Challenge Spring 2025. That's going to be this, and we upload the lot. Like when we're done here, I download the video, send it over to our tech team. They then upload them within 24 hours. So by the end of the weekend, all 5 days will be uploaded. As far as accessing the workbook, you got an automated email when you bought. Check your spam if you don't see it, but it's got a link right there to a downloadable version of that. And if for some reason you still struggle, our support team's awesome, support@PlayYourCourt.com, but I'm positive that's in your inbox somewhere. So just check your spam folder if you're not seeing it.
And they're yours forever.
And they're yours forever. And Nate, what better time
Here we go
to promote the Serve Challenge workbook?
There it is.
I know I joke about this.
Look at them. They're all just
everybody's
running
just
for the door.
leaving. There's more questions. I am going to answer your questions, but I will say this, and I'm not joking. Like, I know I like to be funny and sell stuff because we are a for-profit company. But like, look, we purposely this costs less than a private tennis lesson. And it's going to guarantee that you add 15 miles per hour to your serve. Buy the recordings. Way more importantly, download and print that workbook out. Put it in your bag and go to the court and think about this stuff and make sure this stuff sticks. So again, we're giving you the heads up. We literally sell this course very easily for $199 starting next week. Go get it plus the workbook. See even some other bells and whistles in there for only $49 right now. You're kind of crazy if you don't do this. I can't make it an even
Crazy.
Can't make it an any easier decision for you. PlayYourCourt.com/recordings. Nate's borderline homeless. We got to buy him some new clothes, some food, some beard cream.
Thank goodness for both.
Thank goodness for both.
Yeah.
We would have no clothes. All right. Let's see here. Should we address Boast and how dope their product is?
Amazing.
Yeah.
The research into Bose is awesome. For all you guys, old school, I remember Bose. It is
back,
better
baby.
than ever. Yeah,
back.
For sure.
And it's super on brand for us. We love you guys. All right, couple more questions here. How can you stop hitting yourself in the shit on the follow?
Been there. Definitely been there. That's actually really funny. So one of the things that can happen, going back to the thing, to the, I think it was John, if you swing across your body and you don't swing away from your body, you're connecting with your shin over and over and over again. The problem I had when I was a junior is that I was like emulating Pete Sampras. I would get here and then I would come directly down and hit my shin. That happens very rarely. It's almost always swinging across your body that creates this issue. But the one thing is, like, if this is continuously happening, you might be swinging too fast as well. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you're getting so fast that from here to here, you're not able to judge the distance from the shin, slow down a little bit and focus on getting the racket and your non-dominant hand away from your body. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Let's see here. I'll answer a couple more. Do you have any suggestions, hands, to keep a good tempo and toss, body movement, and hitting? So yes, and literally all of tomorrow is that. So
Rhythm.
Show up for day 3. Tomorrow is all about the rhythm, how to really sync everything up, how to get that racket arm really smooth. So yes, we're not going to get into it today. We don't want to overload people with too much information. So we build on each day. Day 3 is all about rhythm and the racket arm. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. We are definitely going to cover that.
Got you, Simon. Don't worry, buddy. We got you.
What is the definition of a lag serve?
Great question. So the lag is referring to when somebody is tossing and they leave the racket down for an extended period of time. Like if you can remember Thomas Burdich's serve, he left it down for a crazy amount of time before he came up to his power position, his trophy stance, right? So the lag is simply referring to the racket, the hitting arm and the racket lags significantly the tossing arm. Now, I will say your racket should always lag the tossing arm to some degree, but it shouldn't be like a true like lag is back when everybody was dropping the racket down to the floor, tossing arm go up, and then it would catch. It takes too much time, right? That's why we advise most players to start above the waist, work out to the dominant side, or simply start up or in a power position and serve from here. We just don't have enough, unless you're serving every single day at a high level. Most of us don't have the timing, the rhythm, some coordination to go all the way down to the floor and then create that lag.
True. Oh, thank you, Mary. I am funny.
Thanks.
And Nate's here too.
Yeah,
My toss is too high because I can't seem to speed up my swing. Drill for faster racket head speed. So we will give you one tomorrow. But what I will say is your toss should be defined by how high you can reach with your arm fully extended in the really awesome demo I did on day one. It's hard to give you a visual when we're standing right here on a live stream, but with my arm fully extended, with my racket in hand, wherever my strings are, the sweet spot of my strings, that is really as high as the toss needs to go, and we don't want to see it go much higher than that. So when gravity gets that ball, it should be as high as you can reach with your arm extended, your racket in your hand, and the strings making contact with the ball. So make sure that's how you're timing, first of all, your toss. And then as far as racket head speed goes, we're going to talk about that again all day tomorrow. I know that's an annoying answer, but the answer is show up tomorrow, and we're going to get into that in detail.
Yeah. That's common though, Mary, where if you're tossing the ball too high, it's like you have to hit the brakes.
Yeah.
Waiting.
Weird hitch.
And like the motion can slow down a little bit, but it really doesn't want to have that waiting period, because then also your muscles, like everything grabs to it. You want to keep everything loose and fluid. So like Scott said, shorten that toss, and I promise you everything else will come together.
Truth. I'm going to give you some bonus content here. Is there a preferred serve position in singles and in doubles? So in a course that we released called Doubles Movement Mastery, we talk about the 4 starting positions and where you should serve. I'm going to give you a visual here because I think this will be really helpful. I can really use any of these. It's fine. Let's just do this. Give me 1 second here, Dirk. Present, share screen, challenge workbook. All right. So if we're just looking at, and don't pay attention to what's going on the screen, just this is the center of the court right here. You can see the little hash mark behind the end of the 1 here. Nate's very close to the center here. When you're playing singles, just logistically, you've got to cover the entire court. So the closer to the middle you can stand, the more logical is sort of a baseline thought process that is. That said, if you're planning on serving the ball really far out wide, it's not that weird to take a few steps out wide, because you're sort of turning the court with geometry on an angle where they're going to be hitting the ball back more towards the right. So general stance in singles would be serve, very close to the middle so that you've got time to cover the full court. Instruction that I've seen in doubles that I think really could use some improving, and we talk about this a ton in Doubles Movement Mastery, is think about what you want to see come back. So like if you're a right-handed player and you want to see forehands after you serve, I don't know that I would recommend that you go stand dead center in the middle of the court out here. I might list a little bit more towards the middle. Or think about this: if I was a left-handed player, my forehand was my best shot. If I stand in the middle here, I'm just guaranteeing myself a cross-court backhand rally. So I'll actually teach players, right-handed players, to stand more, right-handed players that like their forehand more than their backhand, because that's what I hear most commonly. I'll teach them on the do side to stand, in between the hash mark and the double sideline, even a little bit more to the left, so that they're getting that cross-court forehand that they want. And on the ad side, I'll literally teach them to stand in the doubles alley to serve, not in the doubles alley, but behind the doubles alley when they serve, so that they're setting up inside out. Forehands cross court. So hopefully that helps. That I know has nothing to do with adding power to your serve. It's a little bonus for you,
yeah.
But hopefully that helps. Let me stop my screen share. I believe that was the last of the questions, but I've got to throw this on the screen. Robert says, I'm pretty sure I lost a junior match to Nate 6-0, 6-0. I'm a righty with a left knee issue, so can't keep landing on that leg. Any suggestions on mechanics if I have to land on the right leg?
I remember a Robert Briggs. I can't place this
Did
match.
you beat him
but
ruthlessly 0-0?
I don't know.
What a jerk
I
you
don't
are.
remember, but I know the name Robert. I don't know if you grew up in the Mid-Atlantic or did the whole national thing, but yeah, I know that name. I'm going to look you up now. I'm curious. So what's the question? I'm a righty with a left knee issue, so can't keep loading on that leg. Any suggestions?
Landing on that leg.
Oh, landing on that. All right, dude. I'm totally with you, man. I can help you with this.
Literal exact same problem.
Same. So I had a double, right? So I had FA impingement of the left hip. That's the Bob Ryan, Andy Murray, Lane Hewitt. The whole hip issue led to an issue with my knee where I had a meniscus tear, but it pulled off part of the bone and it ripped. It was a colossal 2 years where I just really had a difficult time with the left side of the body. So really kind of getting into that scorpion. Will you go to the
stage?
Yeah.
So Robert, I'm going to pull your comment down here so you can see the screen.
So the scorpion, what I'm referencing is this landing on the left foot, the right foot kicks back. We used to call it the scorpion tail. So that we see with FAA, that's ridiculous, right? And you think about how much at a high level that landing and loading and pounding on that left foot just annihilates the knee and the hip. We can't do it. We can't sustain it. And especially after we've had surgeries and so forth. The key is loading. And I know this is going to kind of be lame, but Robert, please pay attention because we talk about how to correctly load. And to this day, I mean, I don't really have a problem hitting into the 120s without having to land like FAA. It's more about just loading energy down and getting energy up. We don't have to have this big, huge dynamic land on the left foot or right foot as a lefty. We don't really have to do that. Now,
we talked about this a ton on day 4 too, right?
Yeah.
So we're teasing, but day 4 is the day that we really start to mess with how to sync up the arms and the legs. And you'll hear me say this again on Thursday, day 4. The best tip I've ever actually heard from another coach is on how to use your legs without jumping. And the goal is going to be to push into the ground versus jump. So
who's that coach?
This guy looks like kind of funny. Yeah, it's a good tip. That is a good tip. This is one good tip ever.
Yeah. I just know that the vast majority of power is coming from what's happening with the arm and then the magic of the wrist, right? We get those things down. Yes, the legs are huge. They play 50% of a role, but it's not like the jumping. We see the pros are squeezing out another 15, 20% from that jump, but more importantly, while they're getting such air, it's the net clearance, right? They're getting the ability to hit smaller targets by getting that high above the net is super advantageous. But landing like FAA did in that video is not necessarily lending itself to a huge return on power.
No. And we'll talk all about that on day 4. So Robert, tune in. I can't imagine wanting to learn from somebody that beat me 0-0, but I guess you were nice enough in the process.
I'm happy to look you up, Robert.
You're probably a jerk, if I had to guess.
No,
yeah.
That's my twin brother.
Yeah, there you go.
It's probably me. I'm sorry.
All right, last question of the day here. Dan says, in a flat serve, if we think the ball is an imaginary clock, where do you ideally hit it? In the middle, from up to down, 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, or other?
Okay, sorry. Let me process this. Hi, in a flat serve, we think the ball is an imaginary clock.
So the ball's a clock?
Yeah.
Here's your clock. Where do you ideally hit it? I'm going to forget about clocks for a second and just on the nose. So if you're looking for a flat serve, you want to be flush behind the back of the ball. If you want to hit out wide, it's going to be ever so slightly turned. If you hit it up the tee, it's going to be ever so slightly turned. So right on the nose of the ball, you're thinking of full extension. You are thinking of hitting up, thinking about throwing the bomb. You're not thinking about a pitch straight forward. You're thinking about up. So get that rear pelvic tilt, get that racket extending up, and hit that ball right on the nose. And we are going to talk about that in a lot more detail, I believe, tomorrow.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add there, Dan, is that you're never hitting from up to down unless you're 6'7". That's what the sign shows us. If you're 6'7", you have the ability to slightly get the ball in the forehead. That's it. The rest of us under 6'7", we're always swinging up. So our racket is approaching the ball like we're going to make kind of an uppercut, like we're going to get on the chin. And then we're getting more flush with the ball, as Scott said. So you're more towards the middle of the ball, but we're always swinging up. Doesn't matter what the serve is, whether it's a kicker, whether it's a flat serve, we're swinging up.
Yep. Guys, that is all we have got here for you for day 2. Really, really appreciate you joining us. If you haven't already, please go to PlayYourCourt.com/recordings, pick up that workbook, and watch these whenever you want. Hopefully we'll see you guys all here tomorrow, Wednesday, day 3, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you guys then. Really appreciate you.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you then.